All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am going to hand it over to Senate President Karen Spilka for welcoming remarks, and then I'll be serving as your MC after that. So.
When did they say they were going to be serving?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's great to see all of you baking today. At least we are all baking together. Thank you. And thank you for my wonderful pin. I will cherish it. I love it. I love it. I'd like to thank Secretary Stephanie Pollack for her leadership and long-term vision in making Massachusetts a place that truly values mobility, accessibility, and true connectivity of all residents and has helped support this project. I'd like to thank Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver for overseeing this project and his strong leadership over the years. I'd also like to thank Melissa Malone and all of the Natick Board of Selectmen, many of you which are here, for recognizing the long-term potential of this residence for not only of this project for not only the residents of today, but for the residents of many tomorrows to come as well. And I'd like to thank Josh Ofstroff for co-hosting this event with the Cochituate Rail Trail Advisory Committee for all of their tireless planning and instrumental support for this project every step of the way. We see the results and we will see the groundbreaking for the results today, but this signifies countless, many hours and work and poring over details and connections and working with so many people here that it's not shown, but it's a tremendous amount of effort. And many of you in the audience here, Chief Hicks, I see Wade Blackman from Congresswoman Clark's office, the Metro West RTA, and so many others from around the community are here. Mayor Spicer, Reps Lewis and Gentile, and it just indicates how important this is, this project, in the connectivity of not only for Natick residents, but with Ashland, and eventually will connect Framingham, Ashland, Hopkinton, all the way through Milford. I mean, this is, and going north and further into Natick, and just think of all the walking and bicycling that will be able to happen. And a huge thank you to Joel Barrera for co-hosting this event and his ongoing advocacy for this rail trail. And another big thank you to the volunteers, and I'd like to give a round of applause to all the volunteers who worked on not only this trail, but the multitude of trails across the Metro West that help to make our communities bike and walkable and family friendly. As a huge bicycling, walking family, I'm not certain I know anybody that bicycles more than my husband. He does several hundred miles a week. Yes, a week. And he will be doing his 25th PMC next weekend on his father's old Royce Union, which is now a fixie bicycle. So he'll be doing 200 miles up and down hills on a one-gear bicycle.
Oh, Lord.
He thinks that's fun. I tend to differ, but that's okay. So, as a huge bicycle and walkable family and an outdoors family, I know that the Cochituate Rail Trail is so much more than this project itself. It's about all of us, especially the residents, the staff involved that make it happen, the enjoyment and the recreation that happens here now, and all of the families that will enjoy this and will make it happen years to come. The Cochituate Rail Trail is a blueprint and beacon of how the Commonwealth will achieve the goals of increasing biking and walking and reducing injuries to walkers and bicyclists. It defines the very vision for Massachusetts in which all people have a safe, comfortable, and convenient option to walk or bike for everyday trips. The trail will literally transform the region by connecting the mall, State Park, MBTA station, and major commercial and employment destinations. That is massive. That is monumental. And I see so many people shaking their heads. This is very exciting. In fact, companies such as MathWorks are already building paved paths connecting the trail to their campuses. This trail exemplifies walkability and connectivity, connecting our communities and residents while making our community more bike and pedestrian friendly. And this was truly a collaborative effort, which is what Natick does best. You know, a few weeks ago, I was at the Tunnel of Love. Again, another collaborative effort in a different way, but this is what Natick exemplifies. And working with the business community, the state, municipal officials, volunteers, everybody working together to make things happen. I'm proud to have worked and supported this project from day one, and it's very exciting. The Cochituate Rail Trail enhances the connections across Massachusetts so people have the best possible options for getting where they need to go safely and reliably. And so the project, as we know, will be built to encourage more walking and bicycling, which leads to healthier residents and less congested roads. That is always a plus, particularly here in Metro West. I hope residents will be encouraged to utilize this rail trail and take advantage of the many, many benefits of walking and bicycling in Metro West. And I'd like to just end, I have a legislative citation to the Cochituate Rail Trail Advisory Committee in recognition of the joyous occasion of the groundbreaking of the Cochituate Rail Trail. So this is a legislative citation I'd like to give to Josh as on the Cochituate Rail Trail. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe and cool weekend. Stay hydrated. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the town of Natick for hosting us here today. I know this is an exciting moment for many of you. My name is Jonathan Gulliver. I'm the Highway Administrator for MassDOT, and I can tell you that I've been involved in this project for some time now in a different capacity. Prior to my current position, I think I first met Josh about 7 years ago at probably a different groundbreaking, and this was a very high on the list project to get done in this district. I at one time was the District Highway Director for District 3, which is now ably led by Barry Lorient and his team. So we're here today finally to break ground on the Cochituate Rail Trail, and it provides a critical link between Natick and Framingham. And after a lot of work and a lot of public involvement and a lot of comments, we are really here to celebrate the releasing of MassDOT's bicycle and pedestrian plan. And our Secretary Pollock will get up in a moment and talk a little bit more about that. It is now my pleasure to introduce a true champion of multimodalism. She understands the need to improve our connections for pedestrians, cyclists, and to promote the economic development, healthy living, and recreation with their families, and really, again, providing the opportunity that transportation provides to so many people in so many ways. These impacts are a major quality of life improvement, and there really is no bigger advocate in Massachusetts than Secretary Stephanie Pollock.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Madam President, and thank you to everyone who's here today, because I know many of you individually and collectively are the reason that we're here today and really made this rail trail possible. And I know we've got a bunch of speakers on hot afternoon, and most of them are going to talk about the rail trail. I want to take a moment to talk about the rail trail in the context of the broader bicycle and pedestrian planning and implementation work that we are doing at the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Because while this marks a very important milestone for all the folks from Natick and Metro West who've been working on this project for a long time, it also marks a very important milestone in that today we officially release our statewide bicycle transportation plan and our statewide pedestrian transportation plan, which have been in the works for a long time. And one of the things that I always tell people is, you know, we've done a lot of different kinds of plans since I've been secretary, but I don't do plans so that we can have plans and stick them on a shelf. Our plans are really about changing what we do and how we do it. And so the key to these plans is really going to be implementing our bicycle and pedestrian plans, including by funding more projects like this, but also really changing how we do business to accomplish some very simple goals, right? So one is reducing fatalities and serious injuries among people who are walking and biking, while at the same time increasing the percentage of trips that are made by walking and biking. And very importantly, reducing our transportation carbon footprint. Transportation greenhouse gas emissions are the largest and fastest growing in the Commonwealth, and we will never reach our Global Warming Solution Act goals if we can't find a way to get where we need to go with fewer carbon emissions. This rail trail project is a great example of how we collectively are going to achieve those goals. It's going to require investment, it's going to require partnership among communities, groups, cities and towns, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it's going to require turning what are in many places a sort of disconnected set of walking and biking facilities into a true network by filling in the many gaps in our system. Now, the walking and biking plans are based on three really very simple but important principles. The first is that we have to value people who walk and bicycle and their travel needs, and we have to particularly focus on making sure that these modes of transportation are available to all of us. Children, seniors, people with disabilities, we all need safe places to walk and bike. The second principle is that we as a Commonwealth have to prioritize making investments and improvements for people who walk and bike. And particularly we have to address gaps and barriers that discourage safe walking and biking and increase the likelihood that there will be crashes and that people can be injured. And then the third principle that sits underneath these two important plans is that we all need to work together with our partners in local cities and towns and in other agencies, but we also have to lead the Commonwealth by example. And so we release those plans today, not to mark the end of a process, but really to mark the beginning of the next phase in that process, which is turning those plans into reality. Let me give you a very specific example. One of the things the plans talks about is maximizing the number of short trips that we can make by walking and biking, right? We're not gonna, most people, other than your husband, are not going to take, 10 or 20 or 50 mile walking, biking trips on a regular basis. But half of all trips made in Massachusetts are actually 3 miles or less. Nearly a quarter are 1 mile or less. But yet 80% of those trips are currently made by driving. So there's clearly a big opportunity, both from the perspective of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and from the perspective of addressing our terrible congestion problems. If we can make more of those 1, 2, 3 mile trips, walking and biking, we can really make a difference both in our communities and for our planet. We will be hard at work taking not just the principles in those plans, but taking dozens of specific action steps and beginning to implement them. It will affect everyone throughout all of MassDOT, and it will involve all of you helping us. And particularly I want to thank the members of our Massachusetts Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, MAPABs, several of whom are here today, because just as you've helped us pull that plan together, you're going to hold us accountable and make sure that we do the things that we have promised to do in those plans to move it forward. This rail trail that we celebrate here this afternoon really checks all the boxes that are in our bicycle and pedestrian plans. Valuing people who walk and bike, addressing gaps in our network, connecting more people to more places, and working together among community groups, cities and towns, and MassDOT to deliver for the people of our communities so they can walk and bike safely and enjoyably. So thank you all for the role you've already played in bringing us to this day, and thank you for the work you're going to do in the future to help us not just get this rail trail done, but take the idea of safe walking and biking back to all our communities and make it an option for more and more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And before we get on to our next speakers, I think as has been noted, projects like this do not just happen. takes a lot of work, a lot of advocacy, and in this case, like many projects, also sometimes a lot of time. And I do want to recognize a lot of the people, not only all of you that are here today, but a couple of other people that have been critical in getting us to where we are. First off, from our federal partners at Federal Highway, Josh Gregorowski is here. From Beta Group, Matthew Shute. From MAS Building and Bridge, who's going to be the project contractor who builds this, President Mike Socia is over there, as well as his team, Scott Mercier and Benjamin Pobert. Also, I already mentioned Barry Lorian. His team is going to be responsible for the day-to-day oversight and to make sure this project goes the way everybody wants it to and meets everybody's expectation. And his team is here today, and they're going to be the day-to-day people on this job. So Neil Ahern is the resident engineer. He's going to be assisted by Leo Burgoyne and Eric Rudenauer. All three of them are great staff who are really going to deliver a great job for you guys. And then all of these projects, as I mentioned, they really do take a partnership, not only between the state, but with our elected officials and with the community themselves. So there was a number of elected officials that were not unable to make it here today, including State Senator Becca Rausch, Representative David Linsky, and Representative Maria Robinson, who again were unable to make this work with their schedule today. So our next speakers, I want to invite up Reps Gentile and Lewis. They have both been very strong advocates for this project and a constant voice on this project through design, and they continue to be deeply involved in regional transportation issues. So please welcome State Representative Carmen Gentile and Representative Jack Mills.
Thank you very much, and I want to echo all the thank yous that Senator Spilker and others have made. It's a team effort, both state and local, and you know, everything we look at today with the climate crisis, we have to say, what does this do for the climate crisis? And what this does is it gets people out of cars. It gets us out of our cars, and what does that do? Well, it's good for not polluting, as long as we still have fossil fuels running those cars, and also for health, for our public health. If we all walk more every day, if everybody walks a mile or 2 or 3 miles every day, we're going to be a lot healthier. We're going to live longer and be healthier. So this is a wonderful day. I've been at a number of groundbreakings for rail trails, and I think this is probably the most well-attended I've been to in the last 5 years. And thank you all, and it's a wonderful effort. We look forward to the completion of the trail. When it is complete, it will join the trail in Saxonville, and we're really excited about it. So thank you so much.
I'm Jack Lewis. I'm the state rep for the 7th Middlesex, which is Ashland and Framingham. And like Carmen, I don't technically represent Natick, but none of our communities are islands. We get that. And if these rail trails are going to be successful, they actually have to be interconnected. And so we are both overjoyed that this groundbreaking is happening today, because it does many things, but among those things is it puts the pressure on more and more communities to connect and do the same. We are grateful for this wonderful accomplishment we're having here today, and we're excited. As someone who has 3 kids, who drives to Ayr a couple times a year to go enjoy their rail trail, I'd really love, for lots of reasons, to not have to drive all the way up there and spend my tax money up there at their ice cream shops. Because I know right here in Natick and Framingham and Ashland, we have plenty of places for families like mine to stop along the way as well. I know a couple of us were just at Exhibit A for the grand opening of their beer garden, but a plug for my district in South Framingham: when you're done here, if you're hot and you want to go check out the opening of a beer garden in South Framingham, Exhibit A just opened today, and there's at least 3 of us who stopped there before coming here. So you shouldn't feel guilty. Yeah, ride your bikes down. Yes, ride your bikes down. But again, thank you so much for coming, and congratulations to everyone involved.
Thank you, representatives, and support from local municipalities is really critical, again, to get any of these projects done. So in this case, we had 2 really fantastic partners in both Natick and Framingham. And it's my pleasure to welcome our next speaker, the Vice Chair of the Natick Board of Selectmen, Susan Salomon.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen of Natick and the town of Natick, it is my honor to welcome you all today. I extend a special welcome to Secretary of Transportation Stephanie Pollock, Highway Administrator John Gulliver, Senate President Karen Spilka, Wade Blackman representing Congressman Catherine Clark, our Deputy Town Administrator Bill Chenard, Police Chief Jim Hicks, Selectman Rick Jeanette. My other colleagues wish they could be here but had already had plans. Welcome Mayor Spicer and Representatives Jack Lewis and Representative Carmen Gentili. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the town of Natick, we want to acknowledge all the people who have contributed to both the Cochituate Rail Trail project and to other similar projects around the state, and to the bicycle and pedestrian plans that have just formally been released. When this project began, actually what I'm going to say is, when this project is completed, the people of Natick and the region will benefit for safe, healthy, accessible, and a beautiful connection between our town center and Framingham, and looking forward to the future of connections with other Metro West communities. This is the realization of a dream that goes back decades, and its achievement is due to the persistence and hard work of many people in the community, supported by our state and our regional and federal partners. The project really started as a grassroots program by citizen advocates. Then it was picked up by volunteers and the town staff. And because we are a town, it was essential for a project to have broad support. And many people have played vital parts, including the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, Natick Town Meeting, the CRT Advisory Committee, our Town Finance Committee, our Open Space Advisory Committee, the Conservation Commission, the Community and Economic Board, the Town Administration, our town attorneys, the DPW, and Public Safety. Many people in our businesses and civic groups expressed their support. And also, we recognize Josh Ostroff for his leadership and dedication to making the Cochituate Rail Trail a reality. Of course, there is no way the town could do it alone, and the support of our legislators led by Senator Karen Spilka and Representative David Linsky of MassDOT, the MPO, MAPC, and DCR have been invaluable. We are very grateful for this and other transportation projects, including the new MBTA station, Route 27, and so much more. Having been in public life for over 40 years, I see the Cochituate Rail Trail as part of our community's progression. I have lived in the area long enough to remember Framingham's sewer beds is what is now Natick Mall. We really have come a long way. And just as public works and private investment that we enjoy today and the results of yesterday's far-sighted leadership, we are creating a new legacy. This project will provide access to the outdoors for people of all ages and all abilities. This demonstrates that Natick is still looking forward, and it is with a sense of pride that we state that the Cochituate Rail Trail will add to the quality of life in Natick and the Metro West region. Looking to the future, my colleagues and I look forward to welcome you all back for the ribbon cutting, and we thank you all for being here today to celebrate with us.
Thank you, Susan. One major benefit of a project like this is that it actually encompasses two very engaged communities. And the second leg of this trail is Framingham, which was a much different town when this all started. In fact, it was a town when this started, so it is now a much different place. And it is my pleasure to welcome the first mayor of Framingham, Yvonne Spicer.
Good afternoon, all. I will be brief because I know it's hot because I'm sitting here and I know I'm pretty warm. I just want to say once again, Framingham is a really unique place and at the cusp of being able to move many different directions. We're surrounded by 7 different communities, and we're proud to partner with Natick on many aspects of development, and also realizing that each one of us has a role to play and something to bring to the table. And just like in my community, we have worked very hard to ensure that there are beautiful open spaces for people to enjoy. There are opportunities to connect via the rail trails from Framingham to Natick, and also looking at, I know I was reminded of the Bruce Freeman Trail. It's coming, come on through Sudbury, come on through. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of our former leaders in the city of Framingham, then town of Framingham, our late Representative Chris Walsh, who really took to this. And I remember when I was running for this office, I met with Chris and had an opportunity to talk about things that he was very passionate about, and these rail trails was certainly part of his passion. So he had an opportunity to cut the ribbon in Framingham on that connector, and I'm looking forward to one of our representatives following in that tradition and cutting the ribbon when we continue on. And when I think about how this contributes to the improvement of both of our communities, it is looking at transportation. And last night we had a lively discussion about transportation and the impacts of on the Mass Pike, but really looking at ways as communities, how do we get people outside of those vehicles and getting them to walk, to bike, to enjoy the outdoors. And I also say, particularly our children, how do we do a better job of connecting the value of rail trails and walking with our children? And one of the projects that I've had a chance to work with through the U.S. Conference of Mayors is getting our children to get out and enjoy nature. And that was a collaborative effort with our Parks and Rec department, our DPW department, and my office to actually start to create some policies and practices to get children out and moving forward. So I know my city is a baby city. And as a baby city, we are walking on different steps, but we are making strides in so many areas. And I look forward to continuing to partner with Natick to do this work and then some, because Melissa Malone and I get together periodically and have an opportunity to talk about some of the good work we're doing, but looking for those ways that we can continue to collaborate together. So I thank the Secretary's office. I thank all of you for being here this afternoon, and particularly the volunteers that have worked tirelessly to make sure this happens, and it really does start at the grassroots level. So I thank you for all of your effort, and I once again say, you know, Chris Walsh is smiling at us right now and looking at ways that we can continue. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And you know, I want to recognize a couple members of the MassDOT team too that are just critical at making projects like this happen, and they make all of us think different. So Pete Sutton, I know, is here somewhere, and so is Jackie DeWolf up in the front. And I know many of you and many of the advocates work with both Pete and Jackie on a regular basis, and again, they do great work and were instrumental in getting us here today. So our last and final speaker, I would normally, if we were in a speaking engagement, ask him to be brief, but because many of you know, he can be somewhat verbose. But you know, I think he deserves this day. This is something he has been working on for many, many years. And the Cochituate Rail Trail Advisory Committee has played just a significant and crucial role in getting us to where we are today. And their chair is really no stranger to transportation, and his tireless involvement has really helped keep this project moving forward. Again, I met Josh about 7 years ago, and I'm pleased to call him my friend now, and he really pushes projects like this all the time. So, Josh Ostroff.
In conclusion,
Yes.
so since our friend Replinsky can't be here, I feel incumbent upon me to welcome you to the greatest town and the greatest state in the history of the universe. Trademark. A lot of great things have been said, so I'm going to edit a little bit. But to create public works really requires concerted, sustained effort. And for this project, the payoff is really worth it. This has been, in the time it's been open on an interim basis, and in Framingham, of course, since about 2014, 2015. But it will be a great community benefit for ours and future generations to enjoy. By my count, 13 different members of the Board of Selectmen have all taken votes to move this forward. Going back to 2006, there were members of the Advisory Committee who have made great contributions. The Finance Committee really dug in and took important votes. The Planning Board worked to provide most of the local funding, which was really invaluable to advance this. Town staff have been helpful and generally very patient with me as I ran them ragged. And I want to give a special shout out to Jeremy Marcette and the Public Works team, who are just amazing partners in everything we do as a community. And of course Framingham, who paved the way literally with a groundbreaking, as the mayor said just a few years ago. So since CSX abandoned the freight line in 2006, many people have had a hand in getting us to this day. And here I was going to mention our friend Rep Walsh, and I'm so grateful that you did, because he was a true visionary for trails, and from the aqueduct trails to rail trails to just healthy transportation. Chris left an amazing legacy, and I know he's still in our hearts. I wanted, though, just call attention to a few unsung heroes. Long before the freight train stopped running down the Saxonville Industrial Track, where we're standing right now, Dick and Jill Miller had a vision of what this land could be. And so we're really indebted to them for their passion and tenacity in making this project a community priority. Along with George Eckert and many other volunteers, they were the vanguard for the rail trail. Partners at MassDOT have been invaluable, phenomenal to work with. I just want to recognize Arthur Frost and Ann Sullivan in the district, Moises Reardon, who's the project manager at 10 Park Plaza, Linda Walsh and Pam Marquis, I'm glad Pam's here today, for the right-of-way, which the secretary mentioned. People aren't aware that there's such a thing as a right-of-way bureau, but without them, things don't get built, and they really have shepherded this forward. So we had a conversation leading up to this event, and I got credit, which I think is undue, but I pointed out that every parade needs both a band and a few floats, otherwise you just have some crazy guy walking down the street. So it really is a team effort. I also want to acknowledge Natick Town Meeting. Starting back in December 2006, on at least 8 occasions, I came before them to ask for appropriations for design and for acquisition funding, which was a really big ask. Town meeting always came through, never without good questions and debate. And those who have worked in town government know that you've got to have consensus. There's a lot of talk. There's very little that goes unsaid. But that's how we roll in Natick and many other towns. There's a community of people across the state and beyond who champion trail projects. And a couple I'd like to recognize who just provided some great mentorship for this are former Milford town planner Reno DeLuzio, and he made Milford's Upper Rail Trail project happen, and Robert Wideneck of Holliston, who spearheaded their work. So just hats off to you both, and to many others I know who have done great things. Of course, what's most important about transportation is connectivity. So the CRT is going to make great connections within Natick and Framingham for transit, recreation, for work, play, shopping, between neighborhoods, and much more. But I really want to pause and give credit to Secretary Pollack and MassDOT for thinking what the CRT will connect to outside of Natick. to get off the CRT and onto a commuter train at an accessible rail station, to continue north and connect to a statewide trail network, to safely walk or bike on complete streets that connect to the trail. These are all on the horizon, thanks to the values of the Secretary and to Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito. We're very fortunate to have a real vision for safe connectivity by bike and by foot. And if you enjoy walking and riding on trails, you really should know the name of Joel Berger. He can't be here today, he's got a work commitment, but his vision and tenacity is really paying dividends everywhere. A little later, we're going to have a reception that Joella and I are co-hosting. You're all invited at the old firehouse, the Center for Arts in Natick. And we'll be talking there a little bit about the Mass Trails project, which I'm wearing a pin for that. And what Mass Trails has done is unified across different silos of state agencies and provided a one-stop shop so that you can actually get projects built with expert advice and the kind of connectivity between agencies that sometimes is more important than connectivity between different modes. That's kind of geeky. I would edit that out. I'll talk to the cable people about that. So just in closing, please join us for reception to talk about the bike ped plans, this project, your project, Mass Trails. It's just a gathering at the Arts Center, starting at 3 o'clock, and thank you to the Solomon Foundation for providing support for that event. While you're in Natick Center, please check out the Tunnel of Love. This is an incredible community-sourced, crowd-sourced event at the commuter rail station. To see it and experience it is to put a smile on your face and more love in your heart, and I encourage you to go. So, Jonathan, thank you for helping to elevate biking and walking in your awesome role as highway administrator. I turn it back over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. And again, thank you, all of you, for being here today and for really getting us to where we are today. If it wasn't for all of you and all of your advocacy and pushing this project along through the years, we wouldn't be here. So that is the end of our speaking program. And we're going to...
Do you have time for a word from a proponent also from Craig Delahunt?
We got to move on to the...
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're gonna move on to the groundbreaking. So if I could ask all the speakers to join us over here at the pile of dirt, we're gonna officially kick this off. Thank you.
3, 2, 1, do it! Awesome! You did excellent! Right? Double party.
And then also the release of the bike and ped plans. I was asked to just say a few words about Mass Trails, which, for those of you who don't know, is a new program initiative that was started last year by Governor Baker, the Baker-Polito administration. Kudos to Joel, who at the time was working in the governor's office, and as well as my other Trails team members, Michelle, Michael, Pete. And we're a group of people from multiple different state agencies who get together, and at this point get together every other week. And when I first met Joel, he came to my office and said, I have this idea, how do we do this? We want to make this happen, and kind of spitballing ideas, and it was, this combination of, the governor having a light bulb moment, saying, hey, if we actually connect them, that means I can ride from here to there, all at once. It's like, yep, and us being like, gosh, can we actually do that? And Joel being like, yes, we can, of course we can. And so we get together, and now we get together every other week. We coordinate to launch a funding program, to launch a shared use path planning design guide, to launch other events and programs, technical assistance to help anyone, communities, consultants, municipalities, ourselves, to advance trail projects. And it's so exciting. It's really a fun part of the work. And it's really fun today to actually come out to the community and actually be on the ground and get out of the office for a moment. So thank you to everyone and all my team members.
Mass Trails, which was a privilege to help start when I was in the Gov's office. And Jackie and Kirk Gartner, who's at EA, are now co-chairing that, and it's going stronger than ever. But there was already a lot of good work around trails, shared use paths. We still haven't quite figured out the right name for everything. But there was good work going on at PCR, good work at EEA, good work in the districts, good work at MassDOT, but people weren't necessarily talking to each other, and it wasn't part of a coordinated plan. So basically, we've increased the resources where, for example, on the Mass Trails grant, it used to be $1 million, that's now $5 million. And everybody is doing in the room together to decide what's important, what are the gaps, where should we be working, and creating a pipeline, because MassDOT provides such great funding, but there's a pipeline issue in terms of design and all of these kinds of issues. So now, every 2 weeks, people get together and say, what's the gap here, what do we need to do? And you saw 71 grants come out last month around Mass Trails. So that's been a big privilege to be involved with. I would be remiss if I didn't say I first got interested in trails through Dick and Joe Miller. I moved here from Texas and worked in Senator Jake's office. And I remember at the time MBTA was starting to sell off rights of way to corridors. And Dick came to the senator and said, hey, this is a problem. He introduced me to Craig De La Pena from Rail Trails Conservancy. And we actually issued a report, which you can still find online, called, I forget what it's called. I looked at it not too long ago, but it sort of stopped the MBTA from selling those corridors. And I remember very specifically about 22 years ago, walking the Cochituate Rail Trail with Dick, and we walked all the way to the end, and we got to Framingham. And I always remember this because I was in shorts, and Dick said, there's a lot of poison ivy here. If you step up and down, you'll be okay. So, but he's the one who introduced me to the whole concept of rail trails, and it's been a passion of mine ever since.
Yes.
So, and one of the things I talked, commit him since he verbally committed, but I was talking to Marco Galtofen, that he and I would like to contribute, maybe $100 a piece, and if there's some other people, we would love to have a bench in honor of Dick and Joe Miller on the rail trail. So people can talk to me afterward about how we do that.
We're going to have a picture too.
Excellent. The other person I want to recognize, who really, sometimes you say, well, an economist is somebody who 100 years later you're doing what they say that you should be doing. So the person who educated me about trails is David Lotzenheiser. I worked for 13 years at MAPC, and he has this great knowledge of the whole trail system across all of metropolitan Boston, and a vision that is sort of encapsulated in something called Landline. And a lot of what we're doing is basically implementing that vision in terms of because he's gone out there, he's crazy, like a lot of people, about trails, and he's walked them or he's biked them, and he kind of has educated me so much, and so a lot of what I was able to do in the Gov's office was really just implement the vision that David had. So thank you, David.
Thank you, Joel. I just respect how you kind of translate your passion into practice and really make a difference in the lives of a lot of people, not just on trails, but. Pete Sutton, are you still? Awesome. The secretary talked about the bike ped plans, but the person who was responsible for shepherding the advisory board and consultants within the practice is Pete. So, over to you.
Thanks, Josh. So today marks the official launch of both statewide bicycle and pedestrian transportation plans. What does that actually mean? Well, the fact is that they are no longer in draft form. They are finalized versions of the plans that you can take a look at very easily once you leave here this afternoon. You can just go to the mass.gov website, type in bicycle plan, transportation plan, or the MassDOT website too. They will both come up. They're in story maps format, which is a new format that we've been working on over at MassDOT for a lot of our plans, much more user-friendly than a typical plan or report that has lots and lots of text and lots of charts and graphs. This is in a more user-friendly format, especially if you're looking at it on your desktop computer or even your smartphone. It's very legible, very easy to read, very easy to follow along. We're fortunate enough that both plans are coming out right around the same time. We actually started the pedestrian plan about 6 months earlier, but just with the way timing worked out, we were able to release them both right now. And we're really happy about doing that because we definitely want to promote bicycling and walking all throughout the state on as much of our facilities as possible. You heard the Secretary today talk about safety, connectivity, treating walkers and cyclists the same as any other mode of travel. Those three principles are at the crux of both plans. And as far as linking things like the Cochituate Rail Trail, think of the bicycle and pedestrian plans as the on-road versions to the trail system that is growing. And actually MassDOT, with Michael Trepanier leading, is working on a shared use path planning and design guide that hopefully will come out a year or so from now. Think of these bicycle and pedestrian plans as the on-road companions to that shared use path guide. As much as I love shared use paths and trails, just like everybody in the room, they take forever to get built. They take a long time, often with quite a bit of process in it. I'm a firm believer that to better walking and cycling and bring it to the masses throughout the entire state, that change is going to happen on road, and MassDOT is stepping up by actually putting it on our roadways first, roads that we have jurisdiction over. That's kind of what the project implementation is going to be starting on. And if you look in the plan, you'll see the potential for everyday biking methodology, the potential for walkable trips are all going to be happening on roads that MassDOT has jurisdiction over, say like Route 135 and Route 9 in Natick, for example. But that's just one local example. We're going to be doing this statewide. We took all of the data that we had at our disposal to come up with this methodology using equity, using demand, using safety, and using access to transit stops. That was a big request that we heard when we were doing our outreach for both plans, is that people want better access to transit especially, and just safer places to bike and walk all over the place. So the plans definitely go into detail and into depth about how we're going to do that. Again, I urge you guys to check them out. They're online. There's also companion municipal resource guides because maybe some of you may know this, some of you may not. MassDOT controls very little of the roadways in the entire state. It's less than 20%. And most of those roadways are interstate highways, bridges, and tunnels. But the other remaining 80% are under local jurisdiction. So we thought it very important to put out these municipal resource guides for walking and biking to help our municipal partners plan better infrastructure on their local roads. A good example is like the Complete Streets programs that people have been getting funding for over the past few years. That's a perfect example of a local municipality putting down better bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. So that's our little plug for the plans. I'm hanging around for a while. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks.
The Metro West Regional Collaborative is a sub-region of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and they have regular meetings. And on the 25th at I think 9 a.m., David is going to be over at Town Hall, I believe. And for people who want to know more about the landline program and how it pertains to Metro West, this is a great opportunity to engage. So thanks for making another trip out to Natick. You don't have to bike, but however you want to get here and see what the weather is. But I look forward to seeing you then. And I think hopefully some of the selectmen can be there, but we'll try to make sure that people in town government are well represented. I want to just close by acknowledging the folks who have been working on this, one second, who've been working on this project for many, many years. It started with Dick Miller and a cohort in the 90s, was picked up by town government, as I mentioned earlier. It was only possible because of the support of really hundreds of people engaging. This is going to be an awesome regional asset. There are many more to do, and people who are also here today who work on these are consultants and engineers, such as Howard Stein Hudson, Beta Group, and Livable Streets and Walk Boston and Mass Bike, organizations that really help empower people to advocate for the right policies, and then just regular citizens, including many members of the advisory committee, a few of whom are here today with the support of the selectmen. So it's just an honor to help work with all of you in all facets of my life. And I was reminded I didn't thank Dean earlier, so I will now. But, we have this space until about 5 if people want to hang out and chat. So that's the forum.